Getting a new pet reptile is always an exciting venture, and whether you're brand new to the reptile world and this is going to be your first reptile that you're owning, or if you own a whole bunch of reptiles already, I'm going to be sharing with you the top 5 things that I would personally do and also consider before getting that reptile, so stick around. My name is Nick Pulaski. Growing up, I have always had a passion for wildlife, and with that passion, along with my passion of filmmaking, I get taken on some amazing adventures creating wildlife content, getting up close with a variety of incredible animals. So come follow along as I pursue my goals of educating, inspiring, exploring, and conserving wildlife, all while having fun, seeing the beauty in our natural world. Hey, what's going on, everybody? Thank you so much for joining me here today. As you can see, I am joined by Nemo, one of my ball pythons here. He is a clown pied, and he is looking amazing right now. But we are going to be talking about today if you are currently in the process of considering or getting a brand new pet reptile. First of all, it's a very exciting thing for sure. We all love getting reptiles. It's always important to consider these top 5 things that I'm going to share with you guys before you buy this pet reptile. And you never really want to impulsively buy a reptile before you consider these things, especially for sure. And going straight off the bat, I'm going to be talking about one of the most crucial things that kind of is the umbrella to all of this, and that is the first thing, which is doing your research. Now, I may sound like a broken record constantly saying this in all my videos, but really it is one of the utmost important things I should say, that is important to reptile keeping. If you are going to keep any sort of animal, you want to do your research and do it diligently, not just brush over one article or watch one YouTube video. No, you want to make sure that you're doing some thorough research before getting the animal and even considering it coming into your home. Because doing your research will give you the better peace of mind when you're considering things like, do you have the capability to take on this animal? Financially, beyond just purchasing the animal itself, are you able to cover also all the necessities for the animal that you're willing to purchase? Are you able to take care of all the supplies that are needed, the upkeep that's needed, the habitat that's needed, everything and anything that is needed for the animal, vet bills, anything? Are you able to take on that financially? That's one thing to consider as well. And spacing. Do you have space available to cover all life stages from baby to adult for the species that you're trying to take on? Do you have the space that is required for the habitat and the enclosure for the animal that you're looking to get? And among other things, the commitment to the animal. Do you have the means to commit to this animal for its entire life? These guys don't live short periods of time, that's for sure. These are the things to also consider. So having these things instilled in your mind beforehand is always something very important among all the research for the animal, because I'm sure there is an animal out there that's perfect for you. If not, pet rocks are always out there on the street as well too. But seriously though, you are taking on another life, so you want to make sure that you have the means necessary to take on the animal. You don't want to shove a circle in a triangular hole, right? I mean, if it's just not the perfect fit for you, it's not the perfect fit for you. I'm sure there is another species out there that is right for you, and if not, always, like I said, a pet rock is great. But yeah, doing your research is the most important thing to do beforehand. But we have 4 other things to go over as well that are just as important. Next thing I would say is important to do before you get the animal that you're thinking of purchasing is having an enclosure set up already. Do you have the setup already set up for the animal you're trying to get? Now we're talking, do you have all the supplies that are needed? Do you have all the food that this animal requires as well too? These things are important depending on where you're getting it from. You could also pick up odds and ends things at the place that you're getting things as well too, but having the bare necessities already in place, lighting, heat, enclosure, habitat, having everything in place beforehand is going to help with, once you take the animal home, having a quick transition and getting the animal acclimated to its brand new environment. It's setting you off on the right foot with your animal on a better road to success. And we're going to be talking a little bit about this later in the video, but also having a quarantine setup if this is not your first reptile or animal in the house. Having a separate isolated quarantine setup is also something that you would also want to make sure you have set up prior to getting the animal as well, away from all your other animals. So that is also important as well. All right, so you've done your research, you have the habitat all set up. Where do you get your animal from? That's going to be the next crucial step. So I don't really suggest going to a big chain pet store, and the reason being is you don't know necessarily where that animal came from, how long that animal has been there. You can ask those questions there. Maybe the people will know there. I mean, sometimes I worked at a big chain pet store, so we normally had some knowledgeable staff, but we also didn't have some knowledgeable staff at the same time. But we also tried to teach them and help them learn the ropes as well too, so they were also knowledgeable with people that were inquiring as well. But the problem is at the end of the day is you just don't know who you're going to be getting when you're talking to some of these people, and you want to make sure that you're getting it from a knowledgeable person. Now, absolutely, there are a whole bunch of people knowledgeable in the bigger pet chain industries as well too that are working staff. That is also the case. But instead of going to those stores, I would highly suggest instead doing those things, researching and checking out reputable breeders, whether it's at your local expos or expos in general for reptile shows, or also to checking out reputable reptile shops as well. Now, I'm not saying there's not shady reptile shops out there. I have definitely had my fair share of checking out some of those, but there are also some really high quality ones as well too with some very knowledgeable staff. So knowing which ones you're going to, checking out reviews for breeders, checking out all of the different stuff there, asking your questions, getting contact information. That is how you build these relationships and keeping in touch with these people if you do decide to purchase an animal from them. Like, I purchased this animal from Garrick DeMeyer over at Royal Constrictor Design, so shout out to you, Garrick. But I have been keeping in touch with Garrick for 10 plus years now, and it has been a wonderful relationship, and that's why I continuously get from Garrick, is because I have that trust with him and his collection and the health of his animals. That's all through building those relationships, right? So always having those relationships built over time is something great. I'm always doing follow-ups and asking my questions if I have concerns or anything like that. It's worked out well. So always doing those things and keeping those things considered is always the right way to go. So keeping in contact, not just if there's any problems, but also letting them know how your animal is doing as well too. That's always a great thing as well too. Again, leaving a review, your own personal review, is also a great thing. Also letting that person know how the animal is doing is also a great thing as well too, that I highly suggest doing. As a breeder myself, I always love hearing back from people that purchase from me how the animals are doing and seeing the progress of that animal. That's always a rewarding thing as well. Okay, so now you're at the shop or you're at the Reptile Expo or wherever you may be looking at these animals. The next thing that I would say is important to do is take out the animal, handle the animal, and maybe run a health check on the animal. Now, this kind of goes down the chain of command, right? So if you've done your research properly, if you've looked at animals that are healthy examples through your research, you would know what to look out for and what are the do's and don'ts that you want to look out for and red flags that you might be seeing, as well as green flags as well too. You want to make sure that the animal is healthy. You want to make sure that the animal is active, aware, has clear eyes, clean eyes, isn't having them constantly closed all of the time and is lethargic. You want to make sure that they're not having bubbles coming out of their nose or mouth, having any sort of respiratory issues where they're wheezing as well too. You want to make sure that they look like they're well fed and taken care of as well too, and hydrated. On the outside, there's all these different signs that you want to make sure that you're doing your due diligence and looking out for. Now, reptiles, they are notorious for hiding their illnesses. Now, this is definitely something you want to do if you have other reptiles or animals at home. You want to make sure that you are quarantining your animal once you take it home away from your collection, just to make sure that anything that the animal that you are bringing in is not contaminating and causing diseases and illness to your rest of your collection, because it can be devastating for sure. And it's just a simple thing. You want at least 90 days of quarantine. Doing that in a different separate area away from your animals, that's important. Now, if this is your first pet reptile, obviously you don't have to do that, because basically the setup that you have is basically a quarantine setup in itself. It's away from all the other animals in your home. You have no other animals in your home. That's totally fine. A quarantine is something essential, especially if you have other reptiles or animals at home, because reptiles are notorious for hiding their illnesses. They may look good on the outside, but there may be something hindering on the inside. And you want to make sure that you're doing your due diligence and not causing a problem to the rest of your collection at home. So doing those things, isolating the animal in a quarantine setup, definitely something I recommend doing as well. Lastly, the last thing I would go over when you're considering getting a brand new pet reptile or animal is the handling and feeding schedule. So asking these questions ahead of time, seeing what kind of feeding schedule the animal is on, what the animal is feeding on, the size of prey, the type of prey as well too, and items that the animal is eating. Those are all important things to ask beforehand, so you know what to make sure that you have at home and you are better prepared and equipped for taking on whatever meals that this animal needs and requires as well too. Supplements and vitamins are also important things to know what the animal is on specifically as well too. All great things to keep in mind as well too. If they have a feeding schedule and everything as well, that would be great to kind of know and gauge when the animal has eaten and when the animal should eat as well too. Now, in terms of handling the animal, normally people would say to let the animal be for like a week or two before you handle the animal. And I've heard this plenty of times throughout the years at the pet store, and I truthfully am not a fan of that. Truthfully, I don't think that's the right thing to do, because you are going to be introducing introducing this animal to a brand new environment. The animal is going to get accustomed to not getting handled in that environment, and if you are doing that for long periods of time as well, then the animal may get uncomfortable with you. It may take a lot longer to get the animal adapting to being handled from you personally. Now, if your intentions are to let this animal acclimate for 1 or 2 days, that's totally fine and something that is totally fine to do. But I'm saying if this is an animal that you're wanting to be handleable and all, I would definitely suggest making sure that you are taking the animal out. And in my personal opinion, it's worked out well over the years of handling and working with animals. Letting the animal get accustomed to you early on is always an important thing, I would say, as well too. I truly believe that acclimating your animal early on to getting handled by you is something truly important. As long as the animal has not just recently eaten, make sure that you're letting your animal settle in maybe 1 or 2 days. That's totally fine, but don't go days or weeks on end without handling your animal. I don't think that's needed whatsoever. But there it is, guys. There's my top 5 things to consider before getting a pet reptile. I hope these things were helpful for you guys, whether you're a potential new reptile owner or if you currently own a whole bunch of reptiles. Let me know down in the comments below if you guys have any questions or other suggestions as well too that I didn't personally say in this video. We're all trying to help each other out at the end of the day, so any other additional tips and feedback are always important and definitely something to consider as well too. So definitely leave your comments down below as well. Thank you guys so much again for watching today's video. If you guys could do me a few favors, if you could like this video and subscribe to the channel, I would greatly appreciate it. It helps this channel tremendously when you do those things, as well as definitely hit that notification bell so you know when I upload, and definitely check us out on our social media as well too. And thank you guys again for your ongoing support and watching today's video, and until next time, we will see you guys soon. Take care.